So now that we have read chapter 3 and seen it dramatized, let's discuss a little bit. When you first saw this lady or read about this lady, you had what we call a first impression. A first impression is your opinion of a person based on how he or she acts when you meet for the first time. So what was your first impression of this lady? So over your years as a human, you have formed many first impressions. Normally, if the person you meet is very polite when you first meet, you often decide that this is a truly nice individual. That is your first impression. If the person is very rude when you first meet, you will usually decide that this person is rude most of the time. That again is your first impression. The main thing that affects first impression is body language. So I'm going to go over some of the forms of body language that tend to affect a person's first impression. One is eye contact. If a person makes eye contact with you, we normally assume that person can be trusted. If they don't make eye contact, we assume that either this person cannot be trusted or this person has low self-esteem. Most people, if they are lying to you, will not look you in the eye. Another aspect is smiling. If a person tends to smile at you, we would assume that this is a friendly person. Greeting is another aspect. If a person says, "Hello, how are you?" we tend to assume, make a first impression, that this is a friendly person. Handshake, under normal circumstances, not under the present circumstances, is another good indicator of the type of person with which we are dealing. If a person has a firm handshake, it shows confidence. It shows that perhaps we can trust this person. A weak handshake shows a lack of confidence. The next thing is tone of voice. And you probably picked up on the lady's tone of voice as we watched the video. She had a very demanding, rude sort of tone of voice. And so that probably affected your first impression of her. A final aspect is fidgeting. If someone is fidgeting, or, moving around nervously when they meet you for the first time, we would assume that person has low self-confidence or that this person cannot be trusted. Perhaps the person is nervous because he or she is not being honest with you. Here's an excerpt from an article in Psychology Today, and I have the source information at the bottom of the slide. Psychology Today is a popular magazine that is circulated among people interested in the topic of psychology or how the brain works, how people think. And we remember the literary term excerpt means a portion of the article. So here's what the excerpt says. Human beings are built to size each other up quickly. These first impressions are influenced by a number of factors, such as facial shape, vocal inflection, attractiveness, and general emotional state. People tend to get attached to their initial impressions of others and find it very difficult to change their opinion, even when presented with lots of evidence to the contrary. As a result, it's important to be aware of how one comes across to others during a first meeting. Then one can employ impression management skills, modulating any irritating traits and accentuating one's strengths to ensure that people have a more favorable opinion of one. Everything from clothing style and posture to conversational topics can be adjusted to form a better first impression. Let's now watch this brief TED Ed video about the topic of first impressions. And I then want you to use this information to decide whether or not we should trust Edmund's new acquaintance.
Imagine you're at a football game when this obnoxious guy sits next to you.